When you look at a massive, complex machine, you usually assume that the biggest, loudest engine part is, well, the most important piece.
Right, the part making all the noise.
Exactly. But sometimes it's actually the quiet little suspension system holding everything together. You remove that, and the whole thing just shakes itself to pieces. So, okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, we have a really fascinating deep dive for you today.
We do. We are looking at a stack of regional analyses and U.S. intelligence fallout surrounding the assassination of Iranian official Ali Larijani. Our mission today is to figure out how removing this one specific guy is threatening to completely rewrite the geopolitical map of the Middle East.
And looking impartially across all these sources, the consensus is pretty clear. A highly targeted strike like this doesn't just eliminate a single individual, it fundamentally alters the balance of power across the entire region.
Right, because Larijani was definitely not your standard military commander. I mean, the guy held a PhD in Western philosophy.
Oh yeah, he was a very unique figure.
He actually served as this crucial political bridge between Iran's hardline military factions and its reformist politicians. It's like removing those shock absorbers from a car I mentioned earlier. Suddenly, every single bump threatens to tear the whole system apart.
What's fascinating here is the historical reliance on this exact tactic. It's the ancient strategy of, kill one, terrify thousands.
Right.
We see this going back centuries to groups like the Hashashin, a medieval Islamic sect literally famous for targeted killings, or even the Black Hand, the secret Serbian society whose assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand triggered World War I.
Which obviously changed the entire world.
Exactly. And our sources note that Israel alone has allegedly conducted over 2,700 documented assassinations over the decades.
Over 2,000. I mean, they reportedly relied on a tip from the Iranian public to locate him in this case. But wait, I have to challenge this strategy. If Israel, or really any nation, has done this thousands of times, does it actually work? Because looking at the region today, it certainly doesn't look like they've assassinated their way to peace.
Well, you've hit on the core dilemma, the research points out. You can create temporary panic, right, or disrupt immediate operations. But systematically eliminating leaders rarely builds long-term stability.
It just creates a void.
Exactly. It almost always creates a dangerous power vacuum.
And logically, you'd assume a country like Saudi Arabia would rush to exploit that vacuum. Like if Iran is scrambling, Riyadh must be thrilled, all right?
You would think so.
But the sources threw a massive curveball here. They suggest Saudi Arabia's primary rival right now isn't actually Iran at all. It's the UAE. Honestly, I'm struggling to buy that.
It is surprising.
Saudi Arabia has fought proxy wars with Iran for decades. Are you telling me they're suddenly turning a blind eye to Tehran? What am I missing here?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the data explains why. Over the course of the recent conflict, Iran fired over 2,000 projectiles toward the UAE.
Wow, 2,000.
Yeah, and they didn't just do that for military advantage. They specifically targeted places like Dubai as a calculated economic warning. They were attempting to shatter the UAE's reputation as a safe haven for international business.
Ah, so it was a deliberate economic strike to scare off investors.
Precisely. And Saudi Arabia is quietly paying attention to that economic vulnerability because they are turning their own focus inward.
Right, all their new mega projects.
Yeah, they want to transform into a global hub for future tech, AI, and tourism. Riyadh realizes that their actual economic competitor in achieving that vision is the UAE, not heavily sanctioned Iran.
That makes a lot of sense.
We even see this playing out in places like Sudan, where Riyadh and Abu Dhabi are currently backing opposite factions in a proxy war over regional influence.
Which just goes to show how shifting these alliances actually are. And because it's the Middle East, these regional power plays inevitably drag in global superpowers. The sources detail a very chaotic U.S. response. We have Donald Trump firing off these very Dawn-like posts on Truth Social, complaining that NATO allies won't help the U.S.
Right.
And this is happening right after recent U.S. military strikes decimated Iranian radar installations. He's basically boasting, "I don't need anyone," while claiming sole credit for the radar hits.
Yeah, it's a very fractured situation.
But simultaneously, there is a massive internal rebellion brewing in Washington. So what does this all mean?
It means the traditional consensus in Washington is actively fracturing. The reporting details a highly significant resignation by a U.S. counterterrorism official, Joseph Kent.
Okay.
And maintaining strict neutrality on the politics here, Kent's resignation letter explicitly warned that the current conflict is a trap.
A trap set by foreign lobbying, according to his letter. But how does that actually work mechanically?
So Kent argued that external lobbying groups are successfully pressuring U.S. policymakers into military escalation by artificially inflating the strategic threat to America.
Oh, I see.
He drew direct parallels to the intelligence failures that led to the Iraq War, essentially stating that the U.S. is being maneuvered into a war that serves foreign interests, not its own.
Here's where it gets really interesting. By cheering on the elimination of a moderate bridge like Larijani, the U.S. and its allies might ironically be handing total, uncontested control over to Iran's most extreme hardliners.
Yes, exactly.
You take out the guy who reads Western philosophy and negotiates, and you're left with the guys who only want to fight. You essentially remove the firewall, and now the malware is spreading unchecked.
That's a great way to put it.
And that doesn't just shake up the Middle East.
Yeah.
That directly impacts global markets, oil prices, and your everyday stability of the gas pump.
The entire system is being rewired, which leads to a critical question for you to consider as we wrap up today.
Let's hear it.
Saudi Arabia is pivoting toward AI and tech, and modern warfare is increasingly driven by algorithms. If future automated drone strikes are programmed to systematically eliminate any perceived threat, removing the very diplomats and philosophers capable of human hesitation, do we lose the ability to stop a regional conflict from spiraling into World War III?
That is a terrifying thought.
Right. How does a modern war ever end when algorithms, rather than negotiators, are pulling the trigger?